Here's a quick demo on working with opacity masks in Illustrator. What you see on the screen on the stage here is just a ball with some gradients applied, actually a circle with some gradients applied. And we have a specular highlight here working off to a shadow shape here, and then we see this reflected light. To put this reflected light in, well, let me just quickly show that this reflected light is actually another shape that is sitting on top of this ball. And if I wanted to, I could have applied a reflected light stop on this shape here. What I mean by that is these color stops here. If I had just selected this color stop on the end and double click that and pull that off and made that a little bit lighter, you can see I could sort of mimic the effect of reflected light. But that would be a very limited way of doing it because my reflected light would always be opposite my specular highlight. And that wouldn't allow me to, say, for example, have reflected light hitting the shape on this side or over here while we're leaving that specular highlight the same. So what I do is I create a new shape and add an opacity mask to that and then layer that over top. So just to just give you an idea of what I was going to be doing, that's what I wanted to show you. I'm going to put this on its own layer here and hide that. I'm going to go back to the way this was originally, and I'm going to create a reflected light shape over top of this using opacity mask. So to do that, I'm going to select this shape and I'm going to copy it, Command C, and I'm going to paste it in front, Command F. So I now have that shape existing right over top of itself. And I'm going to make this my opacity, my reflected light color. So I'm going to get rid of my shadow color here, and I'm just going to make that a nice light pink. And it doesn't even have to be a gradient, but that's the color I'm going to use. Now, what I need to do is create a mask shape or a mask gradient over top of this shape that would allow me to have this pink edge seen in and opaque, but then gradually go to transparency as it works its way into the center of this shape here. To do that, I'm going to have to create yet another shape over top of this. So I'm going to select this shape. I'm going to again Command copy, Command F for paste in place, paste in front. And now, just to show you, I have that shape existing over top of itself. So let's undo that again. And this top shape is going to be my mask layer or my mask shape. And for it to be a mask, it has to be a black and white gradient. Just like in Photoshop, the white will allow the bottom shape to remain opaque, but the black will cause it to be transparent. So let me just quickly turn, I'm going to double click these stops to bring up the color palette. And there I go. I've got a quick white to black gradient. But of course, as it is now, this would not work. The white would be opaque and the black would be transparent. Well, that is falling exactly in the wrong spot. We need to reverse our gradient. So I'm just going to take that color stop and slide it this way. Whoops, I'm going to select it first and do that. And now you can see that I'm starting to get closer to what I want. I'm going to bring this color stop all the way down. I'm going to make my midpoint closer to the white. And with I press G, I'm going to select my gradient tool, and I'm just going to, yeah, that's about what I would like to see. So as you can see, I'm starting to develop a strong white shape right along the edge of that shape. And that'll allow me to have my reflected light as opaque here, and then gradually it just fades into transparency as it works into the center of the circle shape. So now I need to apply this transparency mask to the shape below it. In order to do that, I have to have both shapes selected. I need to have the mask selected and the shape below it selected. And I could if I were to just click and drag over top of that, Of course, I have to remember that I have my bottom original circle with the original gradient applied, and that's not going to work because that would apply the opacity mask to all the shapes below it. So what I need to do is select this top shape, holding down the control button and getting the contextual message window, and going down to select next object below. And what that'll do, it'll select the object below my mask shape. And you can tell that that's happened because in my gradient palettes, it's updated to the gradient below, which is that pink shape. But remember, I do have to have both shapes selected, my original shape and my mask shape, in order to apply a transparency mask. So I'm going to hold down my Shift button and click on the mask. And there you can tell that I've got the two shapes selected. The gradient palette has upgraded, so it doesn't really know what to put in there because I've got two shapes selected. But what I need to do now is I need to go into my transparency palette and apply my transparency mask, and you'll find that option in the options button right here, make opacity mask. And there you can see. If I just drag that off, you can see the shape that has been created here. And where the original gradient, the mask gradient was white, you can now see the shape beneath it. It's still opaque, but as you went to the black, it's gradually gone to greater and greater transparency to the point where it is completely 100% transparent where it was black. And now if I position this over top of that circle there, you can see that I've got a nice reflected light. And this is much more flexible to work with because I can rotate that around so that my reflected light is coming from various sources without changing the original gradient at all. And this transparency mask is still live and editable. If I were to go into my gradient here, for example, and select a different color, double click on that and select a nice blue, for example, I could change the color of my reflected light. And not only is the shape or the color editable, but so is the mask that we apply to it. Let's go into our transparency, and you can see this is what this is showing us is the original shape that we were making a mask to, plus the mask that we just made with the black and white gradient. Currently, with the black line around it, you can see that my object is selected. But I can go and if I click here and select the mask shape, the black and white gradient, and I can update that quite easily. I can update that on the fly by moving these sliders around. One thing to be aware of, however, is that while I'm in the mask mode, I can't work with the object. What I mean by that is, for example, if I was to decide that I wanted to move my shape to a different spot on the stage, if I'm in mask mode and I move this, what I've moved is actually the mask, not the object, and you can see that's starting to look quite odd. So let's undo that. What we have to make sure is that whenever we're out of mask mode or we've done editing our mask, that we select our object mode and make sure that we can move it around that way.